Hey YouTube, it's Faye, and for today's video, it is freaking cold and rainy and miserable here in Texas, so I'm going to bring you back to a much nicer day when I'm replacing the automatic tensioner and drive belt on a Toyota 1ZZ engine. Here goes. Tools you're going to need for this job. In this video, you see me using only these two. This is crazy long. But you know, you don't need anything nearly this fancy. If you are going to use wrenches, however, I do recommend a really long one just for leverage. You're going to need a 19, a 17, and a 12, or you can just go the route of a ratchet and sockets. Just make sure they are shallow so you can get the clearance that you need. Once again, a 19, a 17, and a 12. So today I'm going to be replacing the serpentine belt. You can see some cracking right there. You can see some oil contamination, as well as the tensioner. And you can see that it's totally busted up and rusting right there, and it's making a lot of noise for the customer. So I'm gonna replace those two things today, and I'll show you how it's done. So I've got my 19mm wrench that I'm putting on the end of that tensioner. You can see that there's the bolt, but where I'm putting it is actually, it's part of the tensioner assembly itself. So while I pull forward or towards the front of the car with one hand, I'm going to use the other hand to slip the belt off of the smooth side of this tensioner pulley down here. Really, you can use any of the pulleys where the smooth side is facing up, where you don't have to be fighting the height of the ridges of those ribbed pulleys. If you are unfamiliar with the routing of this belt, don't forget to take photos of it before it comes off, or sometimes you can find them online, but for example on this one, normally there'll be like a little sticker that tells you the routing, but this one does not have that, so make sure to be prepared. This one's probably going to take a little bit of effort because that tensioner is totally dead. It's not going to move much at all, but just enough, I think, maybe. Now that the belt is off, there's only two bolts that have to be undone to replace the tensioner, and that is this bolt obviously up here and that bolt down there. So here is the old one. Yeah, there's a lot of side-to-side play on it and like zero resistance when I turn it. See if it actually like slows down and stops, because the bearing is actually like well greased. That's exactly how I want it to be. So good. Now to put this back on is going to be super straightforward. I'm just going to sort of swing it underneath. I'm going to hook this upper portion first. And you're going to have to lift up on this and get the bolt in. Yes, I should be wearing gloves. I know, bad Faye. I actually ripped my last pair. And now I'm just gonna see if I remember how the belt goes on. Alright, so now I got the belt back on. I started by putting it over the crank, then by putting it over the AC and the alternator, and then pulling it over the water pump, just because it's easier. And then it goes over here to the power steering pump. And then lastly, I'll put it on the tensioner and slip it over with this hand, while with my left hand, I'm of course putting my 19mm wrench on this part of the tensioner and pulling it forward. And there we go. Now let's start it up and make sure everything's good.